The NBA preseason is here, but here is why the new look Warriors are NBA title contenders. The Warriors added Jimmy Butler at last year's trade deadline and made an impact going towards the playoffs, and this offseason re-signed Jonathan Kuminga and got versatility at the center spot in Al Horford. Al Horford will be the key piece to this team, and now that they have depth and the young players are finally evolved, I think we're looking at another NBA title in their future. I will say, however, even with the addition of Al Horford cannot play every minute of the game. So when he comes out of the game, they will still be in a small ball lineup if Quentin Post doesn't play, which I don't expect him to get too many minutes. And in this first preseason game, it showed that other teams with height and size will still punish them inside. But some things just don't change, right? And I know Vanderbilt goes under the screen here, but he still overplays Steph Curry, allowing him to get downhill and shoot a floater. Now, the best part of this is that the addition of Jimmy Butler and being in that dunker spot, which he plays so well, Rui has to stay dropped off and not step up on Steph Curry, allowing that space for that floater. Part of being an offensive threat like Jimmy Butler, it's not all scoring, it's playmaking. And he did miss a guy on the baseline, but swings it to the hot hand of the night, Moses Moody, and probably the most intriguing part of this Warriors team as he scored 19 on the night. Part of preseason is working on your playbook, and what better way than to use Steph Curry as your screener on a flex screen that gets Jimmy Butler open on the left block, and Jimmy Butler scores the bucket. But there will be another development to this play later on in the episode. Next up, we get to see Al Horford's offensive versatility. Not only can he stretch the floor, but he can also be a playmaker for this team as he sees Steph Curry on a give-and-go opportunity for a layup at the basket. This was the Warriors' first preseason game so far, and there was a lot to be excited about. Of course, Steph Curry shooting threes, Draymond still being a playmaker, Jimmy Butler's doing his thing, and then we even got a chance to see Al Horford offensively and defensively make a difference for this squad. It's all coming together to compete for another championship. And I know I'm talking a lot about Al Horford at the ripe age of 39 years old, and probably on the way out and his last chance of winning an NBA championship in his career, his last run as well. Again, his versatility matters. One of the best post defenders in the league, as well as one of the best rim protectors that the Warriors could have asked for, and he stretches the floor offensively. But here's a couple blocks for y'all. Okay, hear me out. Sometimes better offense is better than good defense. So Gabe Vincent does make the shot here, but I want to make a good point out of this possession. He beats the clock, but on this ball screen, he thinks he gets a mismatch, but the Warriors have versatility and switchability, in which Kuminga gets a great contest on this play. I'm talking about all the threats that the Warriors have offensively, and I'm not talking about the biggest threat of all, and it's the off-ball movement. There's a lot of passes into ball screens, a lot of off-ball screens, backdoor screens, flare screens, backdoor cuts. You see everything with the Warriors. And this makes it very hard to track down the talent that they do have on the court. And especially when you got guys like Steph Curry and Buddy Hield running around the three-point line and using that to their advantage to cut backdoor, or even Jimmy Butler in the mid-post and being a screener. So just whatever Draymond likes to do offensively, passing, screening, cutting, this ball movement will keep a defense on its toes. And now that they have even more threats to this team, even without Klay Thompson over the last year, going on 2 years now, this team almost might be more dangerous than when they actually had Klay Thompson. Let's look at this play here where Steph Curry gets the defender on his hips once again, and we see the space that the help side defender Jackson Hayes is giving once again, but he'll close down on that space. Unlike we saw earlier where Steph shot the floater, he has enough space now where he can drop it off to Jimmy Butler on the backside because Jackson Hayes does step up this time. Now, he didn't quite give it enough time. He didn't give Jackson Hayes enough time to step up. So it was a little bit of a delay, and Jackson Hayes was able to get back to Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler, being the physical offensive player he is, still gets the basket. Sorry to pick on Jackson Hayes again, but there might actually be a reason why he doesn't get playing time, and why they made the move for DeAndre Ayton. Because why are we in drop coverage off a ball screen? with Steph Curry coming off the ball screen. That makes absolutely no sense. You left the best shooter in the world wide open off the screen. And if you didn't know, Jonathan Kuminga just re-signed to a 3-year deal. And last week, we actually released a video showing whether or not he still has value on this team, in which I think he still does. And we get to see a great play by him made in the preseason. Hopefully he gets into the rotation this year. Here's another great action to break down, as the Lakers are pretty good at knowing their personnel on this play. Steph Curry comes off the pin down and goes around to the top of the key, receives the ball, but Jimmy Butler's matchup is well aware of who receives the ball and pinches down on Steph. Now when this happens, Steph is forced to kick out to Jimmy Butler. But when we freeze it and see how much room Jimmy Butler has down the lane line for a drive, which is what he's known for primarily, is getting downhill, it's kind of tough to pick your poison. You either bank on the Jimmy Butler one-on-one, or you bank on Steph Curry missing a jump shot. So we're going to take a look at the same play from earlier, except this time it's a little bit of a different lineup, and Al Horford pops up to the elbow. And you'll see Spencer coming off of a curl flex screen again, where Steph Curry was setting the screen earlier for Jimmy Butler. Buddy Hield is the key shooter in this play with this lineup, and not everybody plays in preseason, so that's just the way it goes lineup-wise. Buddy Hield sets the screen. That's the distraction. He will then go off another screen. It's a screen-the-screener play off the baseline, and he'll go around this screen to the wing for a wide-open three-point shot. And this is one of the most clever things because, first of all, people don't like to guard the inbounder, so it's easy to get an easy layup at the basket. But also, Buddy Hield being a key shooter, setting the screen, like I mentioned Steph Curry does a lot of the time in his off-ball movement, keeps everyone available at any time during the game. Listen up, everyone. Call me crazy, but the Warriors could be a top 4 team by the end of this year and be an NBA title contender. They competed with the Rockets last year and beat them. They could have beaten the Timberwolves. They actually pushed the Timberwolves without Steph Curry last year, in my opinion. That should not have been as close as what it was in some of those games. So the Warriors are looking up. The Warriors have good additions with Al Horford and the addition of Jimmy Butler last year. I think the Warriors could really cap off the Warriors' legacy with Steph Curry and Draymond Green. That'll do it for another episode of Court Vision, a Life in the Stands production. Also catch me on this week's episode of Beehive Sports Report, where we talk about the Utah Jazz. Remember to rate and review as they help us the most. And remember, the film never lies.